my name is Joanne. I do reviews and rants and commentary on shows, music videos, interviews, movies that I find interesting. And I also do natural hair content very randomly, but yeah. If that sounds like something you're interested in, then make sure to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers. Help me out, please. Legend of Korra is on Netflix. It's actually been on Amazon Prime for a while, but anywho. Got a lot more fans excited now, and new people, the kids of nowadays, are getting into Legend of Korra. So just a bit of backstory, I am a massive fangirl of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I actually hated The Legend of Korra for a strong 8 years. Like, it was a deep-rooted hatred for it. You know, I was a very silent supporter of these hate fan clubs that The Legend of Korra has for some reason. Not anymore. I've been saved. You can find out more in my video. I decided to rewatch The Legend of Korra after 8 years of hating it. Here's why I changed my mind. Just for more detail in that, because it's a long story, and I mean, it's not that long. You could go watch it. Just to summarize, I was just super duper nostalgic about Avatar: The Last Airbender. It formed a large part of my childhood, and I mean, I still love it to this day. And I was a child, so I was immature. I wasn't ready for such a big change when it came to The Legend of Korra. Also, killing the Avatar cycle just turned me off in a massive way, and I just never gave it a second chance until this year. Again, you can see a more detailed explanation in my video. I will link it there, yeah. And also I'll link it in the description. Check it out, it's a good video. 5 stars. So Legend of Korra came out when I was about 14 or 15, and now that I'm in my early 20s and I've had my own life experiences as a young adult, I can appreciate The Legend of Korra a bit more and just in a different way. Because now that I've watched it, I can really recognise the adult themes that they covered in The Legend of Korra. To be fair, they did cover quite heavy adult themes in The Last Airbender, but you know, it was a lot more childish and, you know, very subtly done. Like genocide and xenophobia, it's very heavy. But that was a theme in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but they did it in such a way where even me as a child, I didn't really grasp like the gravity of such heavy things like that. Like the primary focus was about Aang mastering the 4 elements and his little adventures with his friends and eventually taking out the bad guy. That was like a very crude summary of what the show was about. I've said this in my previous video, I feel like The Legend of Korra is a show that really grew up with the original fans and therefore had to be suited to more like preteen, teen audience, and it has more of a serious undertone to it. I mean, it's still funny, it has funny characters, has funny themes, don't get me wrong, like it's still a cartoon for children, so you know, it's not going to be like proper like dark, heavy, serious all the time, but I feel like the show is definitely more matured. I mean, it shows in the ages of the characters and not like, I think Aang was like 12, whereas Korra, when we first meet her, she's about 16 or 17. And off the bat, it doesn't shy away from like hard-hitting topics. Like in season 1, the end of season 1, Amon and his brother, which I always forget his name, they showed them dying in the first season. Like, they died. That is quite heavy for Nickelodeon to show characters actually dying. I know in Avatar: The Last Airbender that Jet was killed, but they made it kind of vague in a way. It was quite ambiguous whether he did die or not. Like, we know he did die, but they didn't make it that obvious. I think that's even why they the show, one of the many reasons why the show was moved to an online platform rather than keeping it on live television. So I've broken down a couple of reasons why I really appreciate Korra as a character and why I actually appreciate her more as a character rather than Aang. I love Aang, don't get me wrong, but Korra, there's something about her. I can look at her and just see things that I recognise in myself. So first of all, I know I'm not a 10,000-year-old reincarnated all-powerful spirit bridge being, but I am a woman, and a black woman, dark-skinned black woman, and I've been through some things. So I'll start with her physical appearance. She's a dark-skinned girl. I know, no, she's not black, I know that, I know. And she's the lead main character of a show, being a dark-skinned female. For me, that is a massive, massive deal. On cartoon shows, it's not really a regular thing to see dark-skinned women featured, especially if there are dark-skinned characters, they're usually like male characters, For example, like Teen Titans, Cyborg, Billy and Mandy, Erwin. I know that's Cartoon Network, but that's just what's coming to mind straight away. Sorry, I didn't write all my notes down today. Just going off the top of my head. But yeah, I do love to have female characters that I can relate to. And it was just a bonus that she was a dark-skinned girl. And she was a complex, multifaceted character, not just like one representation of what she should be. I mean, the show wouldn't be successful if she was that way. Also, her physique was very, I think that's one of the first things that I recognized in her or identified with her. She has a very tall and toned physique. Like she has like boulder shoulders. She was ripped. She was toned. Okay, she wasn't ripped. She was toned. She had a very muscular and curvy body. And you know, growing up, I was actually considered to be like very tall. I know right now people can like, I'm actually like pretty short, if not average height. I like to say average height, I'm not sure. But I reached like my peak height in like when I was like 9 years old. I grew very quickly as a child and like made me very, very self-conscious, you know, to be taller than most boys in your class. And I was very sporty, I was pretty outgoing, I liked outdoor stuff. I wasn't the girliest of girls. I also had a very toned body and I was actually quite muscular in places, and you know, there's worse things to complain about. I know, believe me. I appreciate it now. At the time, I hated it. I really did hate having like curves and being toned. As a child, I was a child. It just, you know, it's another story about the attention that you get being like an early developed child. Yeah. But she wasn't afraid to be outgoing and, you know, to embrace her physical strength. Like from the very first scene we see her as like, what, 4 or 6 years old. She literally burst through the door like saying, yeah, I'm the Avatar. Like, you got to deal with it. Like, I think that's so empowering.
I'm the Avatar! You gotta deal with it!
If you are inclined to be more physical and sporty, it's okay to be that way. And she still had a feminine side to her. Like, she wasn't just all like guns blazing, I'm a tomboy, like I'm with the lads. Like, she had a feminine side to her, but it wasn't forced. Like, I think it was done really, really well, where it showed her being, you know, so like boisterous and outgoing, but yeah, she had like a softer and feminine side to her, which I really did appreciate because I have a soft side to me too. Not being such a girly girl and it being like cool and okay to embrace your physicality and to be comfortable in your body, whether you're like muscular and toned for a girl, which some people can be threatened by. I'm kind of glad for that now. I wish I was as toned and muscular as I was like 10 years ago. I'm less like outgoing and boisterous now. Like, I still wish I was a bit like more sports inclined now, but you know, we grow up, we have different interests now. My second point is her character development. I think this is one of the things that most people can really give credit to the writers for, is the character development in The Legend of Korra. I think it's literally like one of the best things about the show is her character development. Now, Aang had an excellent character development. He showed very realistic change and growth from book 1 to book 3. Like, I think it really did, it was relevant to what he faced and what he had to go through, and how he was quite like a matured person compared to when, you know, Katara and Sokka first found him in the iceberg. Like, he was so childish and like just annoying, and he became like a mature leader. And most characters in The Last Airbender had a good character development. I think I could arguably say, in my opinion, I think Zuko had the best character development. Everyone in the show, like, I think character development is very strong suit for the writers. That's what makes the show even more compelling. Like, you start life as a late teen, young adult, all bushy-eyed, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Life just comes in and body slams you down to the ground. Basically, life humbles you. In Korra's case, yeah, she was literally body slammed to the ground several times. Any average person, that would really affect you in a lot of ways, not only physically but mentally. Zahir, he is one of my, if not my favorite villain of the whole show, because he was so complicated. I guess because of how the show was set up. Like, I understand, I know I had some comments in my previous video about Nickelodeon only giving them 1 season at first and then the 2nd season, and then they gave them 3 and 4 to do, so it was a bit fragmented in ways that they could plan for their villains. But you know, hypothetically speaking, if they were just given the green light to have 4 seasons, I think Zahir could have been featured in more than 1 season, but he wasn't excellent. I mean, no, he was in season 4 for a little bit, but anyway. He was a good villain. Her experience with Zahir led to her experiencing some mental health issues such as PTSD, anxiety, depression. As you kind of transition from being like a child to an adult, or like going from puberty to adulthood, it can be filled with a lot of anxiety, and I just feel like in today's age, We are allowed to talk more about things that we face, like depression, societal pressure. In Korra's case, she had pressure as the avatar to fulfill certain requirements or certain expectations of her. I feel like a lot of us can feel this way, especially black women can feel certain expectations of you. You're meant to compose yourself in certain ways, and yeah, I could get very, very deep into that side of things. But now that I know more about mental health issues, you know, when I was a kid, it wasn't really talked about. At the first and the second episode of season 4, they really like did a good job of like going through the paces of what she was going through. Like, it wasn't rushed, it was done very well to kind of give an insight into like the mental and emotional turmoil that she was feeling. Even physically, she was paralyzed for a while and she had to work through that. And it makes me wish that I kind of watched it when it first came out. Like, again, in my first video I explained that I only watched season 1 and 2, and I just like didn't even bother watching season 3 and 4 because I was just so over it. But I kind of wish I'd watched it when it first came out then, because I can kind of compare to how I felt about it then to now. But, you know, oh well, we're here now. When I was a kid, it just wasn't covered. Mental health was just not covered. And I guess it could be a kind of a scary thing to try and tackle, to cater to children. It's a children's show. I think it was done in a way that audiences of different ages could understand and be able to empathize with or sympathize with her in a way. And it also gave like a realistic time span for her to be going through this thing, about 3 or 4 years between season 3 and 4. I think that's pretty realistic. Like, I didn't just jump to like, oh, okay, a few months later, all right, back at it. No, like, these things, these mental health issues, they take a toll on people, especially for what she went through physically and mentally. You can imagine it's not just something you get over really quickly. And then it showed in the end when Toph was basically the person who, you know, helped her get better and healed her in a way. Like, she had a very tough life, just like tough and like, come on, get over it. It was up to Korra to be able to face her own demons being herself, really. And it wasn't done in like a fairy tale, mystical, magical way. It was pretty like realistic. I know it's like a show about like people having magical powers, but when it came to like her mental health issues, it was like done in a way that is just not too out there, not too like make believe, but also not in a way it's like, oh, I don't need no man, or I don't need like anyone to help me. No, both of those things I can't really stand. And overall, I just found it very compelling. Now, the third thing that I appreciate about The Legend of Korra is Korra Sami. I heard rumors about this when this first came out. I really didn't see it coming because of the whole love triangle thing. I just thought it was like a bit too gross. Like, everyone's just dating everyone, and yeah. Because I knew it was going to come at the end, I could see the subtle, very, very subtle hints that that's what they were like alluding to, or that's what they were building up to. It was very, very subtle, but I think for a children's show, for them to hint at Korra and Asami being like a same-sex couple is very bold of them to do. I can imagine at the time they must have gotten complaints or whatever, as this stuff usually does get, but I, for one, really appreciate them showing even that slight bit of representation. It's really not until what, the very last episode and the very last like 2 minutes, they weren't allowed to show them kissing or being intimate in any way, but they did hold hands and they walked off into like the spirit portal. Don't think it's shoving any sort of agenda or anything down children's throats or any that type of argument. No, I think it was done in a very subtle way. Personally, I do appreciate them showing that. Young people, they do experiment, or they do find out they're inclined to be a certain way. Especially, I find that female same-sex couples aren't shown as much in the media as much as males same-sex couples. I think it's kind of slightly more of a taboo. I could be wrong, but that's just the way I see things in the media. But that is one of the things that sets The Legend of Korra apart from many other cartoons, is that they're willing to take all these bold risks and tackle these actually quite heavy themes that a lot of creators might just want to steer away from and just go for like easy, watchable, easily marketable like kids shows that will just be an easy success. The last thing I want to talk about that's not really related to Korra, but I just thought it's worth mentioning, is showing how Aang has flaws. He was a great avatar and a great leader and a great bender, but as a father, you could see that he really did fail his kids in a lot of ways. There was that scene where Tenzin, Bumi, and Kaya were trying to find, was it Jinora? Trying to find one of his kids, and they basically had like a heart-to-heart saying how, you know, Aang wasn't such a great dad to Bumi and Kaya, but because Tenzin was the airbender, that Aang spent a lot of time with Tenzin, taking him around like on his little like adventures and stuff. And you know, you really see Aang as a fully fledged human. He's not just this spiritual air nomad being. Like, he is a human and he had flaws, and in his adulthood this is one of the few places that he did fail in his life. Maybe fail is a harsh word, maybe just he didn't didn't do such a good job. It just really brought like a nice full circle, nice aspect of bringing Aang more to life and just seeing how things panned out after the show and after the comics. I think that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate the support in these videos. I really loved reading you guys' comments about Legend of Korra. This show can bring out like the ugly side of people that I've seen. Trust me, I've seen a lot, but I'm also starting to see more of the love and appreciation for the show, which I really do like to see. Now that I also have a love and appreciation for the show, like it's really nice to be able to share that with other people. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Do you have things that you appreciate about the show that I didn't mention? I would love to hear about your thoughts, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video. That's a wrap.